at a certain point, a couple of years ago, I stopped eating red meat for a whole year. I could not eat any red meat. I would just literally just reject it physically, like it was physical. And then on one of my trips to Portugal, actually, the meat is really good here. I tried, and I was like, okay, I think I can do that. And so I've been eating red meat, but not in the same way I would have many years ago. But I think on average, I'm probably going to eat red meat maybe three times a month or something like that.
Yes.
Most of the time it's going to be chicken, fish, vegetables with pastas and stuff like that. Or maybe I shouldn't have the pastas, but so I don't want to cut you, but I want to ask. So what about these, like, so these foods like pastas and so on and so forth? Are they really and what kind of pastas actually? Um, would you suggest one to have, because supposedly the ones that we find in the regular stores are just, at least, not, they're not good for your system. They don't have any added value when it comes to nutrients and stuff.
Right. So with the meat,
Hmm.
um, I respect people that eat meat,
Hmm.
especially when they understand where their meat comes from. When you're going to a farm or when you're going to a butcher or somebody that's actually caring for the animal or working with a a farm that actually has a way to care for the animals, to give them a quality of life, you can actually
Hmm.
taste that experience in the meat. So Portugal offers something different than what the US offers. Obviously, so
Seriously.
here and just in my mind, the animals that I love, I just can't see, I can't draw myself anymore at this state in my life to eat them. But that
Mm.
doesn't mean I judge others that do, because some people actually need that to support their bodies for whatever and wherever they are in their experience. It takes a strong mind to convert out of that. Not to say that they're not strong, but to take those steps, you need a lot of support. And it's not cheap being vegan and eating the right things.
It's not
You
cheap.
have to you have to really sit down and prepare your food. And that's why I don't eat a lot of other things. I eat greens because I can throw it in my mouth. I eat sunflower seeds. I eat salads. And then when I'm hungry, then I will eat specific types of noodles because I love pasta. My daughters, we love Italian food. Like we're crazy for it. But we don't eat the dairy aspects of it anymore. So
Mm. So
with
no
pasta,
mozzarella for you, no
no,
traditional mozzarella,
no mozzarella, no. I love,
mascarpone, none
yeah,
of these
none
good
of that,
things.
none of the wonderful cheeses. I love cheese, and I've tried vegan cheese, and they have some really good flavors. But then again, it's just not. I don't want to. Just like with tofurkey, they have this fake chicken and this fake beef and all. I can't do that because I'm playing myself if I don't give myself the real experience. If I really want chicken or something, then I'll eat it. If I'm
That's right.
craving it, then
Yeah.
there's something that's missing in my body. If I can't get it through sea moss or through specific herbs or my diet or not my diet, my lifestyle that I live now, then I'm going to satisfy that because I know
Hmm.
that's something that I need for my body. And doing energy work, it becomes a different level of respect for your body because it's not that you're draining yourself, but it's so much energy that is
Hmm.
transferred through your body that you need to support and ground yourself. And vegetables support that, but sometimes you need something a little more hearty, which is why I
Hmm.
break and I get my fish or I get, something that's a little more dense type of a meat for myself. When it comes to the meat that bleeds in regards to that aspect, it's just a respect for the animal because there's a lot of
Yeah.
trauma that goes into the blood.
Absolutely.
So, if you're going to continue that lifestyle, really talk to the butchers, talk to the people, because when you see meat and you see that there's markings or things that have been cut out, because I worked in restaurants, I know that there's cancer, sometimes there's pus, there's things that are on meat and that are in meat based on that animal's experience. Then they died. They had that trauma in their life. They died traumatically, and that shock, that
Hmm.
environment goes into their system. You can also reference that for our experience here on this planet. We're
Hmm.
mammals, we're human. we have these experiences, their trauma is traumatic to our bodies, and then we develop disease just like these animals do. So we
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
be
yeah.
mindful about,
I
the
really do.
cycle. It's a really beautiful, deep, simple but complex cycle that we're living in. So it's just really respecting the whole process and honoring our bodies and what we're consuming from that aspect when we're eating. So if that answers that question.
100%.
Yeah.
Um, as far as fish are concerned, as fish is concerned, sorry.
Mhm.
Um, I've been hearing that, well, because of the seas being polluted, you might be thinking that you're eating healthy food or healthy seafood, but it's actually not. With all these plastics and all these different things that got broken down through the years and polluting the waters, the seas, etc. The the quality of of the fishes most of the time is not as excellent as we may think they are.
Yes.
That's also another thing. Like it's almost like everything has been poisoned.
Yeah, you can't win for losing. You can't. You damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And my great grandmother used to always say, you have to pick your battle.
100%.
So sourcing again, understanding where the fish is coming from. The reason why I like the cold water by Iceland and northern regions is because those waters are less polluted. So I have to make choices. If I'm going to eat this fish, this is the environment it grew up in. Just say, for example, Gulf fish, Gulf fish, Gulf shrimp. That oil is not clean out of that water. Those
Hmm,
animals
hmm,
have been
hmm.
impacted. They're exactly. She said, "We are what we eat." Exactly. Exactly. So if these waters are polluted, then our waters are polluted in our body. So we have to source and find what works best for our bodies. If I need fish, I'm going to research. I don't do salmon because I know they've genetically modified engineered salmon. Most of the salmon we used to eat growing up is not real salmon anymore. So it's so serious. It's so scary. And when you see what these fish look like now, especially salmon, king
Mm,
salmon,
mm, mm,
and
mm,
then what
mm.
they look like 30 years ago, it's completely different. And you can look it up online. There's research and sources and medical institutions that have done this research. It has literally damaged the environment for salmon, the salmon that they put out there. So it was my favorite fish. But then I realized after doing research, because I noticed that it started to taste different. And then
Mhm.
there were all these different varieties. And I said, okay, I know there's different varieties of salmon, but this looks so different. And then they promote it. These people promote it. King salmon is great for you. It's a nice fatty fish. It's healthy. It has
Yeah,
omega-3s.
propaganda to make you buy because they need to,
Exactly. You buy it, you poison yourself, you're running to the hospital. What's wrong with me? Then you're in their institution and you're paying your way to health when really all they're doing is keeping you sick. So all of these institutions work together, all of them. So what you eat gets you sick. You go to the hospital, you're in the medical system, then you have the medicine that you need to take. And then it's a circle. You still don't know, they don't teach you about how to eat healthy. They keep you sick. You go into the hospital, they don't educate you about your diet. They put you on pills. And then it's this
Mhm.
cycle. That's
Yeah.
their cycle. Our cycle, as the sister said, is returning to the source. So if you can have your experience of fishing, if you can have your experience of slaughter, if you can have your experience of just getting a little pot and growing your own food and tasting the difference, you'll really understand, because there's no way I could return consistently to the store knowing what came out of my garden. And I have so much in my garden right now.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
Monsanto is killing us. Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
I feel like Monsanto is the big boogeyman, but it's almost like it's overshadowing maybe everything that's happening as well. Maybe from smaller companies. I think it's like Monsanto's is the Apple Music of fucked up chemistry and you know
Well,
and contaminating foods and shit.
yeah, but they're not the only ones. They're supported by other large industries. It's crazy. She just said it's all an interconnected web. It's so true. Because if Monsanto,
Absolutely.
how could Monsanto get so big by creating pesticides and then going to the food industry and then doing gene therapy or injecting animal DNA such as spiders and then changing the codes of the food that we eat, corn, soy, canola, beets,
Hold
papaya.
on. What's the connection between the spider and the food?
So if I'm not mistaken, because I see it all the time, but then it doesn't stick with me because I just know I don't eat corn like that. I don't eat yellow corn.
Mm-hmm.
I eat
Mm-hmm.
indigenous corn. So anything that has a patent to Monsanto, there's been gene therapy done. So some of these foods that we eat have animal DNA in it, so that when the animals eat the foods, it blows their stomach up along with chemicals and different genetic manipulation that they do. I can't say it verbatim. I have like this document that's these papers that my friend gave to me 15 years ago. It's like has to be like 3-4 inches thick of how is this industry has just from chemical to chemical food, how we're eating these chemicals now. Why do we have digestive problems? Why do we have these rashes coming up on our body? Why are so many of these things so prevalent? And I wouldn't even speak on your channel about certain things because I don't know if they would cut your channel. So
Okay, speak
there's
about it.
so huh?
Why would they cut my channel? Because you're speaking.
Because some things here in the US right
Hmm.
now, there is a lot of censoring. They're censoring us
Oh yeah.
because we're starting to know, just like I'm identifying with what I put in my body. Health is wealth. Health
Hmm.
is wealth physically and spiritually. So if your body's
Hmm.
clean, your mind is clean. If your mind is clean, then
Hmm.
you can operate in your true purpose. Our purpose,
Hmm.
again, is not to be enslaved by these systems. It is for us to be free on this planet, to live in
Hmm.
cohesiveness with it, in tandem with it, joining forces. And we're here to take care of this planet as it takes care of us. It is a great mother. It gives to us. We need to take care as well. If the waters are polluted, if the land is polluted, we can't live here anymore. And this is why it's such an important topic to speak about because I have children. What kind of world are they going to live in? What do they really know what clean water tastes like because we have to buy bottled water? We can't drink from a creek without a life straw or a Berkey or some type of filter. The other day I went to the creek and there's chemical bubbles that are floating in the water. Like my children have never seen a clean creek.
What?
That bothers me. That bothers me. So and it creates in this whole world because we all know what's going on, this depression and this stress. And that weakens your immune system too. So it is so imperative to eat right. It is so imperative. I can't stress that enough. Clean, healthy food.
Talk about this thing that you said might get my channel censored. I wanna try it out. Let just spread your knowledge. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, it is your truth. It's what you've researched and it's what you know.
Well,
So.
when when I had my first child, it was a hospital birth. I had no idea I even had options. I depended on the doctors, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't know how many melanated, copper, indigenous, aboriginal, whatever you want to call it, women. My experience was horrible, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I was given pitocin to induce the birth. They broke my water. The contractions were so
Was
heavy.
was there a reason? Was it because of the contraction that they had to break your water, or?
No, so you know how a lot of women are planning for C-sections? The doctors
Mhm.
say all these things so these women can come in and have C-sections.
Mhm.
So the womb, let's talk about the womb section and these experiences that us as women are having. To support our womb, first is through diet, it's through lifestyle, it's through care, it's through partnership, it's the village. Everybody has their job, everybody assists in a certain way. I don't know everything, but what I do, I will support you with that. When you're carrying a baby, there's a lot of environmental factors that can cause a lot of trauma and produce a different experience for this child on this planet. So It is a very special time for a mother.
Mhm.
I didn't have that education at that time. I didn't have a partner at that time that was educated as well. So we trusted our midwife, me not knowing she wasn't really a midwife, she was a medical wife. She was a medical midwife. So she trusted the science instead of me and my body. So whatever I said
Mhm.
was a problem was take this pill, take that pill, do this, take this. Instead of how's your diet? How are you feeling today? How are your hips feeling? Do you feel the spread yet? Do you feel weight in your womb?
Mm.
She didn't ask me the right questions. I didn't know what to ask. I was very uneducated about that experience, as most of us are. And the rush to get a C-section, the rush to do serious surgery on us is over 35% of women here in the US. And I just had to speak with someone the other day and say, please talk to your daughter. You can have a vaginal birth after a cesarean. So there's so many possibilities, and the body is so amazing. They keep wanting to cut us open, to damage our wombs, to take our wombs, to take our ovaries, to sterilize us. Is so scary. And that
But
almost
hold
like,
on, but you can't sterilize somebody. I mean, like these are things. These are serious.
no,
Like these are serious moves. Like you've got
they
before you
do
take
it.
that procedure, you gotta be talking to the person. Like, look, there's a reason why.
Oh
You
no,
know.
not here. Not here. There's a history of forced or unknown sterilization in our community, and my grandmother was one of those people.
Okay.
So this is something that
I
is
thought that
well
was where I heard.
documented.
I heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there's I don't know if this is the name of the book. It's called Medical Apartheid, and it
Okay.
speaks of the injustices that melanated people have had here in the US. And
Hmm.
I'm sure it speaks to all over this planet in regards to how we're treated by the medical industry. And there's so much information on YouTube. I would suggest researching that, because once you have an awareness of how this industry works, then you know that there are other steps that you can take. And that's when you can have real conversations about what works best for you in your body. Nobody's body is the same. It's not a one size fits all. If this is something that you can consume and it benefits your body, then so be it. And others, vice versa. Just do your research, check in with your community, go to your apothecaries or your herbalists or whoever you need to, and people are so willing and able to educate you and put you in the right space and push you towards the right resources that work and fit with you. Because that's how I had to start. But with my experience in the hospital, it changed my look and my narrative on the experiences I wanted to have in the future. So when it came to me and my womb health, because of the things and the damage that was done to me in the hospital, I said I never want to have this experience again. So at that point, I wanted to make sure for my next child, I did research. My next two births, I had water births. The child is in the water. The child needs to comfortably come out of the mother's womb into water, into a comfortable environment that simulates or that is natural to their own environment.
Yeah.
So my last two births were water births. One was in the hospital. Um, I'll answer that in a second. I saw it. um, with the experience that I had with my middle child, it
Hmm.
was so beautiful. It blew my mind how strong I was. And that's when all the lights started clicking, like, oh. And at that time, and I'm going to speak frank, at that time when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was homeless.
Hmm.
So I had to make specific choices. And when I say homeless, shelters, waking up at 6 in the morning to leave the shelter, coming back to make sure I had a bed, I was homeless. So with that experience, and I'm thankful for it, that really brought me to, I have to be mindful of what I'm picking to eat throughout the day so
Hmm.
that it supports my pregnancy. She is my most healthy example of what a child should be. She she grew strong and fast. She communicated very early.
Hmm.
Um, the way that these children move when you give them that type of lifestyle and environment,
Hmm.
I mean, it's endless. It's endless. So, and then the choices that I made once I found a place to live and deal with myself and my trauma, I was able to assist her in the journey, and I noticed that my trauma affected her. So in the first few months while I was breastfeeding, there's a lot of crying, a lot of, things that were going on with her, and I had to be mindful of that. I didn't have anybody teach me that. It was something innate. So when you become a mother, you just know. Or even as a
Mm-hmm.
woman, you know. So we have this innate ability to heal others, heal ourselves, understand the environment, understand people, and work with people. And that's in for me, that's the goal, to assist my community through education, knowledge, information, through my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So in my third pregnancy, I was at a hospital in the state of Ohio. You can't give, at the time, water births were illegal. So I
Illegal or
just
legal?
illegal,
Okay.
illegal. So I had to go to a hospital to give birth, and I went in the middle of nowhere. It was very country, brand new hospital.
Mm-hmm.
When I say the middle of nowhere, I really went to the middle of nowhere, and I made sure that I knew who was assisting me with my birth. And this woman was a true midwife who said, fuck the system. I have 4 children. I gave birth to them at home, and I'm a midwife at a hospital. So when she understood my journey, she said, when you come to give birth, I don't care who's here, jump in the tub and don't get out. I know what it's like to have a water birth. I support you. She stood back while everybody was scared that didn't understand it. Yeah, it's a syphilis experiment, exactly. I jumped in the water, didn't get out, pulled my daughter out on my own. They wanted to take her.
Wow.
I said no. I laid her on my chest. They wanted to cut the cord. I said no. Blood is still flowing into my daughter. I need her to get all the nutrients, all of this, all of that.
Hmm.
They wanted to take her placenta. I took the placenta home. I didn't want them to keep any of her DNA.
So hold on now. Let's go step by step because this is a lot of information. So,
Yeah.
at what point did you start cutting the umbilical cord?
So it's important for the placenta to push and give the child all that it needs,
Uh-huh.
nutrient wise. That journey is not over. Some people actually allow the placenta to stay attached to the child until the cord falls off, and they put herbs and different spices on it to support that child and to not go bad. So the
Because I was gonna
experience,
say it's organic, so it might quickly go
yeah,
bad.
yes,
Oh.
and they use it to nourish their trees or their garden. It's so amazing. Like, I can't even speak to how amazing and what I've learned about my own body through that experience. But the hospitals want to take blood, they want to do PKU and prick the foot, and we want to check her genetic
What is
information.
PKU?
It's a test that I don't know what it stands for, but it's when they prick the bottom of the baby's foot so they can take the blood to do tests. I don't know why they would want to do that. If you check the vitals on the child and you come back, or you sit in the hospital for 4 days here, 5 to 7 days if you've had a traumatic birth or a cesarean. Um, they kept me a day longer because they thought there was fluid in my daughter's lungs. And I said, how? They said, well, she was born in the water. I said, she came out of the water, right? Like, just the lack of knowledge of what you're dealing with in a hospital, the common sense
Mm-hmm.
is gone. So it was a really interesting experience, and I took the placenta home and I buried it under a tree so it could support that tree. I didn't let them take any of her genetic material. I didn't let them touch her. I didn't let them touch me. It was just what the law required, and I didn't want any circumstances or situations to arise. So I just did what I felt was necessary. And then they wanted to keep giving me drugs for pain. I said, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need anything. I don't need your drugs. I want to
But
feel.
there's an argument, not to cut you, but there's an argument that says that yes, but that's cool. But then what if something goes wrong with the baby, and then you refuse all this help, and they
Well,
haven't been able to run all these tests? Then they're left with very little room for them to help you save your baby potentially.
well, what tests would they need to run? Because they do all the blood work on the mother
Yeah,
throughout the
true.
pregnancy. So
Hmm.
what would the baby develop? You can see it in an ultrasound. You can see
Mm.
these things. You watch the baby develop. You see their brain. You see their heart. You can tell if a baby has a heart problem through an ultrasound. And now they have more advanced ultrasounds. And the ultrasound technology that they were using for me was beyond what I could ever fathom based on what happened with me 2 years prior when I had my other daughter. So for me, there was no excuse. They wanted to give her vitamin K shot to support her brain health. But I ate the right things. There's nothing wrong with me. You've been checking my levels my whole pregnancy.
True, because when you think about it, there's like these women, for example, in some of the most remote places in the world, wherever it might be around the world, their children are super healthy. I mean, yeah, of course, if they lack, the basic means of food, of course, they're gonna have, issues with famine and stuff. But besides these considerations, for those who just manage to just get by, like you see, the children are just like super active. Like I remember, if you go to Senegal, like when I was in Senegal a couple of months ago, it was funny. I was walking on the street with a friend of mine, and we saw these two kids, these three kids actually. They were literally babies. Like the oldest probably was 3 years old, if that, and they were very mature. Like I mean, the maturity of these babies was so I had not seen that level of maturity in a long time. Like they were talking. And there was one that probably was 1 year and a half or something. It was still he was trying to talk, but and the two others they were a little bit older, probably 2 and 3, and they were running things, and they were like, yeah, no, 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 no. It was very funny, and they were on their own by the like nearby the cars. Like literally, there was a there's a pedestrian space, and then there's the road, and they were there, and they were playing their little I don't know what they were doing, but they were playing with like little balls, whatever. And there was a father that was, probably it was a couple of hundred, I mean, couple of meters away from them, but definitely not close enough. So should something happen, you wouldn't have enough time to come and catch them. So those kids were already responsibilized in a way that I was like, well, we over shelter those kids out here in the West, and look at these babies. They already know what danger is. I mean, of course, they don't know what danger is, but they have an idea of danger. So they know that a car is dangerous. Like they'll play, but they play within a limit that has been set for them, and they don't, try their luck, which was very interesting, very interesting. Like they were responsible.